Okay, 123. This is section 9. The last section of Unit 1, Week 4. Week 5 is Test 1. This is about weighted averages. We have two ways we're going to weight. Weighted by counts and weighted by percents. Okay? This gives some people problems figuring out which one is which and when to do which. Your Excel project is weighted by percents. Okay? The first one, number 1 here, is weighted by counts. We have different credit out classes that are worth different credit hours. This is a 3, a 4, a 3, and a 1. Biology is going to count more towards your GPA than the others. The new student seminar is going to be the least. I don't know how I drew this problem. I've never had one this slow. They're telling you that the standard A is 4 points, B is 3, C is 2, D is 1, and F is 0. So because all classes don't count the same, that's why it's called weighted. So we take the credit hours times the value of the grade. A D is 1. 3 times 1 is 3. Biology is 4 credits. 4 times 0 is 0. Communications, 3 credits. 3 times 0 is 0. New student seminar, 1 times 0 is 0. Now, to find the GPA, you add up the credits, not the number of classes, the credits. 3 plus 4 plus 3 plus 1 is 11 credit hours. We add up the total points we just had. 3 plus 0 is 3. 3 divided by 11 is 0.2727. Round to the nearest hundredth. So it's going to equal about 0.27 GPA. They are not in good shape. I hope that is not you. Okay, number 2. On a quiz worth 5 points, 0 students earned a 5, 5 students earned a 4, 9 students earned a 3, 4 students earned a 2, 0 a 1, and 7 a 0. Find the class average. I suggest you make a table, even if they don't have one, and we're rounding to the 10th place. So, I made a table with the points the student got. This is our counts, the number of students. That's how many times it counts. The points is the value. I kind of have it written the other way, but it'll work the same. On a quiz worth 5 points, 0 students get a 5. So that'll be 0. 4 or 5 students earn a 4. These are the 5 students. They earned a 4. That'll be worth 20. Nine students earned a 3. We'll multiply those and get 27. 4 students earned a 2. That is 8. Anything times 0 is 0. And that is 0. Okay. So the total number of students is 25. The total points is 55. So to find the average, we're going to take the 55 and divide it by the 25. And the average is 2.2 on the 5-point quiz. Okay. What this method is doing, the counts, it's keeping us from having to expand this out. We could have written, we didn't have any people get a 5. We could have written a 4 5 times, a 3 9 times, a 2 4 times, and a 0 7 times. Then we could have added all those up and divided by 25, just like we've been doing to find an average. Okay? That would have been our data expanded out. This just saves us time because we know 5 people got a 4. So we go 5 times 4 is 20. 9 times 3 is 27. 4 times 2 is 8. 0 times 1 is 0. 7 times 0 is 0. We add up the students. 25, 55 divided by 25. Okay? Now for number 3, again, there was not a table, but I'm going to make one. Julie the jeweler has 2 gold necklaces worth 105, 15 silver necklaces worth 85, 14 silver plated valued at 50, and 4 beaded valued at 20. What is the average value of a necklace at her shop rounded to the nearest cent? Again, you could list all these individually, but it's going to take a long time. So all we do is make the weighted average, make it simpler. We go 2 for the gold times 105 would be our 210. There were 15 silver plated worth 85. 14 worth 50, and 4 worth 20. Okay, once again, now to find the average, we don't divide by 4. This is the number of counts, the number of pieces we had. 2 plus 15 plus 14 plus 4, 35 pieces. We add up the value of all the merchandise. And it's $22.65. So now we have the $22.65 divided by 35. And the average cost says go to the nearest cent, $64.71. Okay. Four is once again counts, not a percent. We haven't had a percent yet. Waiting. Okay. Isabel returned from her road trip. On her trip home, our trip away from home, she made 2 stops to buy gas. The first, she purchased 8 gallons, so there's our count, 8 gallons at a cost of $2.39. Okay. Later, she purchased 9 gallons, there's our count, and each one of those cost $3.06. On the return trip, 18 gallons at a cost of $2.81. Okay. So if we want to know her average cost, we have to take into consideration she got 8 gallons at this price, 9 at this price, and 18 at this price. We can't just divide these by 3, add them and divide them by 3 because we got more of this one. Okay, so we go 8 times 2.39, which is 1912. 9 times 3.06, okay, that was 8 times 239. 9 times 306. 18 times 281. So we've got 97.24. That was our total cost for all the gallons. And the number of gallons was 35. And we get 2.778, which would round to $2.78 per gallon. Okay. Okay, number 5. The International House of Nuts, a boutique nut shop that recently opened, wants to sell a premium blend of nuts. It's got 11 pounds of pistachios at $24.99 a pound, 10 pounds of pecans at $13.99, and 16 pounds of chestnuts at $4.95 a pound. The managers asked you what the cost is going to be average per pound when this is mixed together. Now we can't just add them and divide by 3 because there's more of this in there. Okay, if it was 1 pound of each, we could do that, but we can't. Okay, so the total count would be 11 pounds, 10 pounds, and 16, which is 37. Then we need to come up with the total cost. 11 times $24.99. That's where this is coming from. Is $274.89. 10 times $13.99. It's $139.90. And 16 times $4.95 is $79.20. Now to get the total cost for everything, we sum this column, divide it by the total pounds, 37, and the average cost is $13.35. Okay. Number 6 is our first weighted by percents, just like your project. Okay. Now we don't have counts. It's not saying so many credit hours. This is saying schools are graded based on the following data. English is 25%, how they do on scores, standardized scores. Math is 25%, graduation 30%, and career readiness 20%. And they're given a grade based on the A's, 4's, B's, 3's, C, 2, D, 1, F, 0. Okay? Now, when we're working with the percents, weighted averages by percent, just like you're going to do on your project, the process differs from counts. You're going to make the percent category by weight either into decimals. You can either divide by 100 or move the decimal to the places to the left. Don't do both. Multiply the value of the category by the weight, and you're going to get the category percentage points. Then you add up all the category percentage points for the total. You do not divide in this one, okay? You've already moved that decimal and it was already in a weighted percentage form, so you do not divide, okay? Your weighted percents must always add to 100%, okay? So we look and we're given these percents. They do add up to 100%, which is what we need. Okay, this is 25%, so it'll be 0.25, and F is worth 0, so just kind of make yourself another column over here for your percentage points for each category. That one will be 0. This will be 0.25 times 1, which is 0.25. Okay. This will be 0.3 times 4. 1.2, 0.2 times 4. Equals 0.8. Now when we sum that, we get a 2.25 is the school's rating, okay, or their grade. Now this is not like the GPA, okay, because that was counts with how many credits. They were given a weighted percent, okay. So you make it a decimal, multiply by the value, and then you sum these, and we get the 2.25. Okay, the next one I usually get lots of questions about, so take good notes. Sarah is researching iPhones and decides to create a weighted average to determine the best. She uses the following weights, and then it just didn't print up. In my webworks it said 50% is the battery, 30% is the cost, and 20% is the camera. So what you're doing here is you're actually doing 3 different weightings and then comparing them. Okay? So just to give you a little more room, okay, if I were to make it a vertical table, I would have the iPhone. Okay, then we got the battery, the cost, the camera, okay, and our weights. This was 50%. This was 30%. That was given in our data. And this was 20%. Again, it's got to add up to 100%, and it does. Okay, and their scores. Their values were 6 and a 10 and an 8. So I'm just taking this first line and pulling it out just to show you and figuring one at a time. So what would its rating be? We have to do 50% times 6. 0.5 times 6 is 3. 0.3 times 10, that becomes 0.3 times 10 is 3. 0.2 times 8 is 1.6. Then remember, with weighted averages, with percent weighting, all we do is add these together. So we get 7.6 is the overall iPhone rating. Okay. Now we just need to do it to the other ones. We'll just make that 0.5 right away. Cost was 0.3. Camera was 0.2. Samsung's rating was a 6, a 4, and a 9. Okay. 0.5 times 6 will give us 3. 0.3 times 4 will give us 1.2. 0.2 times 9 will give us 1.8. So that's 3, 4, 5. Its total rating is a 6. Okay. So we can see so far the iPhone is in the lead. Then the Motorola. Battery, cost, camera, my weighted percent. I'm going to make it a decimal, 0.5, 0.3, 0.2. The rating, and again, you don't need to make it vertical, but I know I have some people that have a lot of problems with this one, so I'm taking that extra step. Okay, so 7 times 0.5, okay? So they have a very good rating on their battery, 3.5. They got another 7 times 0.3 will be 2.1. And a 4 times 0.2 will be 0.8. So when we do the total, we get a 6.4. Okay. So in my example, you may have different numbers, different ratings, but in the one I pulled, the iPhone won. Okay. And the last problem is the longest, and it is also a weighting by percents. Okay. This is the grade in chemistry. It's calculated by the following, just like you will find on the syllabus. The quizzes are 5%, exam is 20, exam 2 is 20, lab report is 15, 15, and 25. Now, you have to have an average, a grade average, to put in to be weighted. These are all individual. So the first thing you have to do in A and B is find the average for that category. Okay. So I have already done that. To find the average for the lab, we would sum the lab scores, 74 plus 69 plus 86 plus 77 plus 89 plus 73 plus 94 plus 64 is 626. And then if you did the last section, you know you divide by the number of entries, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And we get 78.25. It says to round to the 10th, so about 78.3. Okay. The average for the quiz, when I added all the quizzes, I did the sum of these and it equaled 626. The sum here was equal to 511. So here I have to do 511 divided by 8. And when I rounded to the 10th, I got 63.9. Okay. Now, since these are just one score, that is the average. So now I am ready with my category. Now I'd have my category average. My quizzes came out to be, now that was not my first one, my quizzes is right down here, the 63.9. Okay. Put my average right here on. And my lab average was 78.3. Okay. Exam 1, 95. Exam 2, 75. Now comes my lab report, which was 78.3. My research paper was a 90. And my final exam, woohoo, was 100. Did good on that one. Okay, so this was given, the weights were given. Remember, they have to add up to 100. We had the average for these three because it was one score. We had to find the average for these two categories by doing the mean, summing, and dividing by the number of data entries. I've got it just a little bit bigger over here. So it's the same chart, I just wrote it bigger. Okay, so my quiz average was 63.9. My lab average, okay, sorry for a little break there, barking dogs. I shut off the recording and went and took care of the barking dogs. The lab report we calculated to be 78.2. Okay, so now we're just back to making the weights into a decimal, and this is the one that is going to mess everyone up. Not everyone, but a lot of people. 5% is not 0.5. Make sure you use 0.05. 50% is 0.5, and usually those single digits are when people get them wrong. So this would be 0.05 times 63.9. And I've already pre-calculated these. This is 0.15 times 78.2. Here I just did the 0.2 times 95, 0.2 times 75, 0.15 times 90, and 0.25 times 100. Now, on the percent weighting, we just add up the category percentage points. And it comes out to be 87.43. And do not divide on the percent weighting. The biggest error happens right here when we have a single digit like a 5%, 4%. We still have people making those 0.5 or 0.4 instead of, here's the decimal, 12.05. Okay, and you can always divide by 100 and it moves it for you. All right, that concludes 9. Now you're on to your test review. For test 1, you got your project to do. Keep up the good work. Bye.